You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative Newsfile news analysis program, and here on the show we put Ghana first, and just trying to get a couple of the messages that you have sent on the preliminary issues that we have had to deal with. And I must state first of all and say thank you very much to Dr. Evans Afum. He called us to also share his view on the Dr. Mary Grant, and clearly endorses what was said earlier, that the first female Ghanaian medical doctor was Susan Oforiatta, and that the second was Matilda Clark. Matilda Clark happens to have been in the same school with Dr. Evans Afum. Thank you very much for reaching to us and for staying tuned and listening to Newsfile or watching Newsfile. As you know, Newsfile is also available on your DSTV channel 421. Now, a couple of your messages here. Babihin Richard says NDC was only engaged in name tagging and name calling, which is characteristic of them. So which specific issue is that you are responding to? And then okay, so the comments about the president allegedly doing similar whatever appears to be vote buying elsewhere, if you don't have evidence to it, then we can't be a conveyor belt for it for you. Okay, I realize that most of the comments that you want to share will be on the next set of issues that we are clearly looking at. Manaf Wakilu Adam says, I find it quite interesting the views expressed by lawyer Yao Pong suggesting that President Mahama giving money to a certain girl to compensate her loss amounts to endorsement of child labor. What a funny world. Okay, so let's take Yao in context. Then Kofi Agbamava says, how will Nana Akomia label that as vote buying? Well, he did not. Also, let's be careful what we are. Are you listening to the show? Okay, so I won't read the rest of what you have said. Then Nana Hesi Ojri in Dansuman says, I disagree with Kwekubako if he says the president's move is not to buy votes. Mr. Bako, how did you access that? Okay, what if that's what you meant to write? What if it were Nana Akufo-Addo? Interesting thoughts. Okay, I don't really get your point though. Brian Boabing says, this year's election is not about the president sharing cash in public. Ghanaians won't just choose their next president. Ghana will choose a direction for our country on issues from energy sufficiency and affordability, industrial production, transform agriculture, quality and affordable health and education system, rapid development of infrastructure and value for money, not only to build an economy that helps the middle class alone gets ahead and stay ahead. Nana Baumia are Ghana's hope. Okay. Teachers are to be posted without appointment letters. Samson, please ask. Okay, you should have been following the news on that as well. It's not a subject we are discussing here, so let's move on with it. Now, the NDC was gathered once again over its manifesto. The first was to bring us the highlights, and the president led us charge here in Accra. Then they went to Siani and did a launch on Saturday. After the launch, the manifesto is available for everybody to read. It's an 80-page document which the president says is the blueprint for Ghana's to transform lives. It says it's the best blueprint to transform lives. Of course, you may have heard others say stuff about it, including that it was God-given. Now, The NPP also held a press conference and described it in many ways, including that it is a manifesto of broken promises that have been rehashed. We will look at these issues right now, and the manifesto is premised on 4 thematic areas: putting people first, strong and resilient economy, expanding infrastructure, and transparent and accountable governance. We'll start with Mr. Agyarko.
Well, thank you, Samson. The NDC 2016 manifesto is undergirded by our philosophy of social democracy. We have set out to establish for ourselves a country of social justice and equity. So this is the broad philosophy and the vision of His Excellency the President, who has been charged by the NDC, having elected him overwhelmingly as our flag bearer. And God willing, if the good people of this country retain him for his second and final term, his vision, his broad vision, as spells out on page 1 of this manifesto, is, quote, a peaceful, secure, and prosperous nation, providing sustainable jobs through industrialization for transformation, unquote. So that is the vision that drives the 2016 NDC manifesto. Having said that, Samson, I want to explain that the 2 programs that we organized was guided by a number of considerations. So first, the highlights. And the highlight was to afford His Excellency the President to speak to the 4 thematic areas, to show that he has grasped. He is the face we will see on the ballot paper. He is the one we will be electing. The people of this country want to be sure that their leader, who they will vote for, indeed understands what he intends to do, has a plan, can articulate the plan, and can talk us through it and bring us all on board. You can't achieve that at a rally event. Rally event is more of a charged crowd. People are standing, you know, there's a lot of frenzy, and so the highlight was a more
controlling away the accusation that this was wasteful spending, extravagance,
not at
which
all.
was unnecessary.
Not at all. Not at all. So, speaking as a member of the communication team for the campaign, we are very upbeat about the assessment that has been conducted after the highlights.
Right.
It's been very well received, and the very critical sections of society who followed, those who were invited and those who followed through the media, have said that it really afforded them the opportunity to digest the content of the manifesto and have an understanding of the manifesto, because you will make it available. People will either download it online or get a hard copy or get a braille version, because you know that we are also heavy on making sure that our friends, and there's a sizable population, about 2 million Ghanaians, you know, have some disability or the other, and we want to reach all of them. So
there's actually, they've been catered for specifically in the manifesto.
Yes, yes. And so you realize that the highlight was not a wasteful expenditure at all. Very simple event that allowed for the president to account for his stewardship over the last 4 years and to present the highlights of this manifesto, which has gone well.
At the launch, putting people first, and it begins with the area that you are education. Deputy Minister in education. What sticks out in this manifesto for you?
So, under the putting people first pillar, as a social democratic party, we always put people first. That is our philosophy. We begin with education. You know, putting people first has education, has health, and has the other social sectors.
Right.
You know, the Ministry for Gender, Social Protection, and all of that. But to come to your question specifically, there are a number of things that stick out to me and which I'm excited about. Mm-hmm. You notice that pages 10 to 18 of the manifesto is all about education. The president is heavy on TVET, Technical Vocational Education and Training, that we need to rebrand it, we need to make it more attractive. And the world all over, they are talking about this because they have seen that a structural unemployment in the world. The ILO is warning government that if you don't encourage your youth to take up other skills, to be more competitive, they will lose out in this changing world. We have a very strong oil and gas sector growing. There are opportunities that are being churned out. You need to have a very strong skill set that allows your youth to take advantage of these opportunities so that you don't bring in experts. So you see that the president is committing to complete the conversion of the polytechnics to technical universities, to support them to stay on course and to provide that high level, you know, technology, engineering, hands-on skills, vocational education. Below that, President observed that there is only one college of education, the 43 public colleges of education, only one trains TVET instructors. The president announced that the one being constructed in Agona Swedru will specialize in training TVET instructors and points to the need for us to dedicate resources. And already over the last 4 years, he has been able to marshal about $200 million from, you know, the donor community, World Bank, Danida, IMF, GTZ, Africa Development Bank, and the others. What also sticks out for me is the concentration on early childhood care development. For a long time as a country, when we talk about basic education, it's been from P1 upwards. We left out nursery, KG, kindergarten. Now we have mainstreamed early childhood care development, and the president has said that he will establish specialized experimental schools in the colleges of education and train more, because there's a serious deficit of professional caregivers in early childhood care development.
Right, there's a temptation to want to go into the details because I asked that question. But that may have even been a breach of the understanding we had, because we all agree that we need a particular platform to go into the details of the manifesto.
That's true.
And that we cannot do that on this limited program. The president says the manifesto is not mere promises, it is the best document for the development of Ghana. He says the manifesto is not lofty promises, it captures aspirations of Ghanaians. He goes ahead again to say that we have the best plans for Ghana. Then you have the NPP organize a press conference and react, and they say Mahama has put corruption first. That's according to Agyarko, the policy advisor. They say promises made, promises broken, promises repeated. And that's essentially what the manifesto is about. And more importantly, that another term for Mahama would be a future of promises and lies. How do you react to that?
So, to react to this, Samson, I have tried to research on independent bodies who have assessed the implementation of our manifesto, because if I come here and say that this is how well we have done in implementing our 2012 manifesto, there may be doubts.
Right.
And as I researched, I noticed that it's only Imani Ghana that carried out an assessment of how well or not we had implemented our manifesto. And they put out a report on the 30th of July 2015. And something, that report is available online. 1.5 years remaining when this report was put out by Imani. They scored, as the NDC government, they scored as 36.4% on the economy. On education, my sector, they scored as 75.7% in terms of fulfilling our manifesto promises. They actually said that the education sector was the best performing sector. They described the 65.7% as good progress. And they said that even breaking down distance education, open school, and non-formal education, we score 100%, meaning that by the time they assessed our implementation of the manifesto on the 30th of July 2015, we had implemented all of what we said we would implement under distance education, open schooling, non-formal education. Governance, they scored as 43%, which they defined as satisfactory progress. Social sector, they scored as 49%, which Imani described as a satisfactory progress. They talked about the improvement in the doctor-to-patient ratio, nurse-to-patient ratio, harmonizing the social protection sector as we promised. And they scored us overall 49%. Infrastructure, we scored 51.36% based on what we said we would do in our manifesto. And remember, this is 1.5 years to go. This report was put out on the 30th of July 2015. And this is Imani, this is not the NDC saying it, 1.5 years to go. And if you go through the 2012 manifesto, you see sector by sector. And the education, we said we'll convert polytechnics to technical universities. We've done it. We said we'll establish Eastern University. The law has been passed. The president is about to cut short for actual construction to begin. We said we will expand FQ. We have done that. We said we'll implement progressively free senior high school. We've done that. Under health, we said we'll double the CHIP zones. We've done that. We said we'll establish regional hospitals in Upper East, Upper West. We have done that. I must concede that for Eastern region, with 3 regional hospitals we promised. Eastern region, we haven't started. But at least work has started at the University for Environment and Sustainable Development. Under youth and sports, we said we will establish a 10 million Ghana cedis Jobs and Enterprise Development Fund, which we call YES. That has been established. The Youth Enterprise Support, Madam Helga is heading that department and doing a fantastic job. I know some youth in my constituency who have benefited. We said we will support the national teams to qualify for the World Cup and other international tournaments. We've achieved that. Job creation initiatives. In the 2012 manifesto, we said we will establish allied consumer products and export based on oil and gas. We've done that. Cheap gas to fire our energy sector. We said we will establish a ceramics manufacturing company that is underway in the Western region, being facilitated by the Ghana Free Zones Board. And aviation, we said we will upgrade the Tamale Airport. We have done that. We will expand and modernize the Kotoka International Airport. We have done that. We said that we will upgrade the Kumasi Airport. We have done that. We said that we will work towards incorporating a national carrier. We have done that and presented a feasibility report. The World Bank is assessing. Everybody knows. Under maritime, we said we will rehabilitate the Takrady and Tema ports. We have done that. Tema Port, we've managed to raise $1.5 billion, a syndicated facility to expand the Tema Port. We have done that. Eastern Corridor roads, we said we will expand it. We have done that. Under the economy, we said that we will move the gross international reserves from 1 month of import cover to 4 months of import cover. We have done that. Under governance, we said we will complete Job 600 for the legislature, members of parliament. We have done that. We said that we will do the street naming project. We have done that. We said that the new districts, our local government policy of 5 needs, that is at least 1 senior high school, 1 district hospital, 1 minimum second-class road, 1 provision of potable water to the district capital, provision of potable provision of electricity to the district capital. We have also done this for the 23 new districts that were created. Enhanced justice for all, the Justice for All program for the judiciary. I can go on and on about the pledges we made that we have. So
we pause here. But even before you do that, in 30 seconds, how do you react to the NPP when they say this? Quotes. Mahama says if he is re-elected, he will continue with the work he is doing. It appears he is proud of his achievement, But the reality is one of a president who is so out of touch with the reality of Ghanaians. The story of Ghanaians is the same, one of joblessness, pain, and hardships. The president's Better Ghana agenda is only for the family and friends. We will subject the record of the NDC to scrutiny. So they say the president is out of touch. The things you're talking about, that's not the reality of Ghanaians. What do you say in 30 seconds? We move to Akumia.
The Kotoka Airport expansion is not for the president's family and friends. University of Health and Allied Sciences in the Volta region with over 2,000 students enrolled. It's not for the president's children or family and friends. The University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani in the Branga-Hafu region. It's not for the president's family and friends. Poverty data, official data from the World Bank shows that poverty has moved from about 51% in 1991 to below 20% as we speak. Extreme poverty has been reduced. The Livelihood Empowerment Program, which is so far servicing over 200,000 households, 230,000 households. The community day schools that have been established all over the country, 10 have been commissioned so far at Agona, Bodom, Edujama, Adabera, Nyanwa, Chinderi, Bamionko, Nkwanta, Utuam, Abiasi, Dema, with thousands of students in these schools. There are another 32, as I announced last week, that have been sent to the Computerized School and Placement Secretariat, where students are going to be placed in the ongoing BEC placement, which we expect to come out under 2 weeks. I can list the 32. If you go to Agric in Zima, Agona East, Namawura, Gomwa Jama.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, so all of this completed. So this, and we see the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, the most modern hospital, the Greater Accra, the University of Ghana Teaching Hospital.
There's a challenge that's
you can see the development.
There's a challenge that's still outstanding from Kokubako and others to you, particularly Kokubako, that those you keep saying are under construction.
Yeah, the 123.
Let us know exactly where they are so we can verify for ourselves. Nana, you say...
I'll give you the list now. I have it.
You ask the questions, are people better off as the NDC promised? Has Mr. President improved the management of the economy and public policy? Has he tackled corruption? You say these are the blueprints to which a government can be assessed, and not a phantom promises made to which are to be broken away. What's the basis of your direct charge at the NDC, the manner you did with your press conference?
Well, thank you, Samson.
And don't ask for the same time I gave him, because when your manifesto is launched, you will be giving equally more time than they will get.
I like that.
The truth doesn't require a lot of time because it's self-evident. There's no problem. Samson, on all the indices that the president inherited in 2012, all of them, they have worsened. All of them. So when you come and meet a certain situation,
now don't just say all of them and you end it there.
What are they?
You see, you're communicating to a class of very intelligent people. Give us at least some examples of what you mean by all of them.
Oh,
they have failed.
Well, I was going to do that in my next sentence, but all of them he has failed. Now, let's look at the macroeconomy. The president came to meet inflation at single digits of 9.8%. As we speak, inflation is over 16%. He came to meet a deficit situation of 3.9% in 2011. When he took over in 2012, he moved the deficit to 12%. As we speak, the deficit is still above 7%. Interest rates. He came to meet an interest rate position of 22% from the banks. As we speak, bank interest rates today top 35%. Manufacturing, agriculture, cocoa production, fish production, all of them. 10 years ago, we were producing 100,000 tons of fish. Today, we are producing less than 40,000. under the president. In 2011, we're producing 100,000 tons of cocoa. Sorry, 1 million tons of cocoa.
Right.
As we speak, we are producing just about 750,000 tons of cocoa. Now, if you imagine a ton of cocoa costs 3,000, the loss of 250,000 tons, look at the amount of money we've lost. You know, so in the city, look at the loss in the city in the last 4 years. All the indications, all the macro indicators, they have worsened. So
they say whatever arguments you make concerning which areas you think they underperformed, you cannot stand up to them in the area of infrastructure. What do you say to that?
You see,
in education, in health,
no
roads.
No problem. Look, I see Samuel Williams is happily nodding his head. Don't nod your head. Look,
monkeys play.
You say you are doing infrastructure. The president told us that he is doing cocoa roads so that cocoa production would increase. That he's building ports and he's building schools so that there will be improvement. But something else I've pointed out to you, there is no improvement. So when you tell us that you have done cocoa roads and then we find that cocoa production is declining, when you tell us that you have laid the foundation and yet we find out that the macroeconomic situation is declining, John Mahama's term as president has seen the worst economic performance in this country since the last 20 years.
I ask your reaction to the infrastructure bit.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that it has to have an effect. The infrastructure should reflect in employment. It is not. It should reflect in inflation. It is not. It should reflect in economic growth. It is not. It should reflect in cocoa production. It is not. It should reflect in fish production. It is not. That is the reality. The Ghanaian fisherman who used to produce 100,000 tons of fish, when you tell him that I've built fishing harbors and I've done the silos and whatever, he expects it to reflect in his business. But he sees his business declining. He sees that the fish production that he used to do 10 years ago is falling. The cocoa farmer is producing less. The fruit farmer is producing less. We are being overwhelmed by imports of food from Côte d'Ivoire and our neighbors. As we speak today, check the indicators in Ivory Coast is running, if you take inflation, Ivory Coast, for example, is running an inflation rate of about 2%. Liberia is running an inflation rate of about 7% as we speak. Liberia, what on Liberia? Burkina Faso is running an inflation rate of about 3% as we speak. Togo is running an inflation rate of about 5% as we speak. Now, I'm just citing these countries because when you listen to President Mahama, it's like, oh, there were external factors. What external factors? How can the external factors bypass Togo and bypass Burkina Faso and bypass Côte d'Ivoire and hit only Ghana? Because all of these countries are doing much better. Côte d'Ivoire, a country with a much less population than Ghana, is doing 2 times the amount of cocoa production that we had, more than 2 times actually. You see?
But they've always led us, have they not?
Not all the time. Not all the time. You see? So, everywhere you look, you are being told there's massive infrastructure. Look, take even education. Now, I want to use education because Sami is here. The best period of the WASI results was 2012. Or was it 2013?
2012.
It's in this your book. One second, let me borrow your green book. Where's the part on education?
Go to page 8.
We're sitting here on Newsfile, and my guest, and presently speaking, is Nana Kumia.
You have this page with the
also
graph.
Deputy Education Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa Pong is a privately held practitioner, teaches at the Central University, and Kweku Bako is the managing editor of the New Crusading Guide Newsfile.
Even education, and I'm singling education, the best period of WASSCE results was in 2012, where 31% qualified. These 2012 people were the produce of the 4-year SSS. You see, so
can you give us the worst period as well? Can you give us the worst period? Use the graph properly.
No.
The worst period was in 2007 when you were in power.
Yes.
So say that as well.
No. I haven't talked about who is in power or not. I have talked about the policy. You can understand.
Because you were saying the best
I have
period.
said that the best period of the WASSCE results was the result of the 4-year policy. I haven't talked about regimes. In 2006,
you know that is not accurate. After we went back to the 3-year period, their results are still better than your results when you were in power. Check 2013, 19.5%, 2014, 28.4%.
No problem.
Current figure is 24%.
No problem.
Still better than your best performance of 12.9% in 2008. So use the graph properly.
Thank you.
I'm very happy you went to the graph.
Sami is refusing to understand.
No. You're engaging in intellectual dishonesty.
This is the graph in your own green book.
Yes.
The best period for WASSCE result is this long one.
Keep holding it as you have, because the camera wants to zoom.
This long one.
You are blocking the NPP era. Take your hand away.
Right. Okay, so you can see the NPP is where you find the NDC era is a yellow graph,
and the NPP is the
orange.
Yes. But you see, that policy of 4-year SSS went beyond the NDC period. So I'm not even talking about the NPP. I'm talking about the policy. In 2006 that you're talking about, there was no such policy. And I'm saying to you,
but we are also back to 3 years. So compare our 3 years to your 3 years.
And your 3 years has still not. It has
look at 2014.
It has still not.
Okay, Sammy, please.
It's far better than yours.
So something. The point I'm making is that all of these things that these people tell us, that we are doing roads more than you, we're doing hospitals more than you, we're doing building schools more than you, it should reflect, it should have an impact. In 2014,
It's having an impact.
in 2014, 10,000 Ghanaians got infected with cholera, which showed the level of insanitation and unhealthy infrastructure that we have. 10,000 Ghanaians.
Contrary to their promise to deal with that in 100 days, first 100 days.
Out of which 250 Ghanaians died. The last time 200 Ghanaians died for cholera was in 1983. And we're talking of 2004.
Okay, then I hold it there. Thank you. Right, thank you.
Give me 3 minutes to wrap up.
I can give you a minute.
Beyond the, let me make the point again. I made it here some time ago that this election is a referendum of John Mahama's record.
Really?
Because of all the people who contest with him, none of them has been in office. He has been in office. So what he tells us he will do will have to be measured in the light of what he has done with what he told us previously.
Very fair.
And when he do that, he will fail. In 2008, on 7th November 2008, John Mahama told us that he was going to pass a law to allow 40% women representation in political appointments. He himself told us. He failed. In 16th November 2008, he told us that the GET Fund, he will use the GET Fund to solve all the problems in education. He failed. In 16th November 2008, that's when he told us that. He said he would tackle youth employment as a national emergency and use all resources to ensure full employment. He failed. He said he was going to turn the serious fraud, he was going to make a law to turn the serious fraud into an independent commission that will be able to fight corruption better. He failed. He said he was going to change the SHRAG law so SHRAG can prosecute on their own and have prosecutor powers. He failed. He said he was going to pass a law to fund political parties. This was in May 19, 2008. He failed. He said he was going to do an independent prosecutor that will have powers beyond the Attorney General to prosecute corruption. This was in October 2008. He failed.
You should be saying they failed because that campaign was not prosecuted by John Mahama.
The reason why I'm saying he failed because he himself,
he was not on the ballot.
Yes, but he made these pronouncements himself, not Mills.
Okay.
You see,
all right. Thank you.
Now, in 2009, on 2 occasions when the Northern chiefs of the North, he said he was going to split the Northern region into 2. 2009 up to 2016. He couldn't do it. When he became full president in 2012, he met the president September 18 at the National Conference Center. All the things that he said, he failed. Even the 200 secondary schools that Okujeto Ablakwa is superintendent. You said you build 200. You said in the first year you build 50. As we speak, 4 years later, you've done 10. 10 out of 200. When you say, oh, yes, but we have started another 123. The NPP left 5,140 flats. They said we didn't finish a single room. That's what they tell us. 5,140.
Okay.
And then you tell us
you are veering into other matters that we will engage under the setting the record straight. So thank you. Hold it there.
No problem.
Let me now hear. Thank you. You can conclude on that. Thank you.
President Mahama.
Let's hear
the results of today's results, the worst economic period in the history of this and
okay.
of the Fourth Republic.
Let's hear what Kwaku had to say from his looking at the manifesto, the promises that were made, all the people that spoke at the manifesto launch, and also the NPP's attack on the manifesto.
Well, we were here last week. We didn't have the manifesto, and so we were a bit handicapped.
That is so.
And then we looked at the highlights.
But Kwaku, how many copies are you holding?
The manifesto.
All the previous ones.
I have all the previous ones. This is the current one.
This is the Changing Lives, Transforming Ghana.
Yes, and I got this only Thursday.
Okay.
So I haven't done a very extensive study.
Coincidentally, the NPP's 2012 manifesto was titled Transforming Lives, Transforming Ghana.
That's right.
And the NDC's is Changing Lives, Transforming Ghana.
They didn't steal it.
I have the NPP 2004 manifesto.
Okay, right.
They didn't steal the
They couldn't
headline.
even achieve 2%
title.
of their
Pick 35 copies that Kwaku has. Yeah, photocopies. Okay, let's go.
Yes, so they proceeded to Sunyani to launch the manifesto. Honestly, I saw the Sunyani event more like a rally than a manifesto launch. It wasn't a focused delivery on the manifesto objectives, even though some of the leading members, including the president, made some pointers, gave us some pointers. So I really looked at some of the speeches that were delivered, just to give me an idea what the drift was all about, and to be honest, that's why I was making an earlier point that when we come to the setting the record straight, we can see an overlapping element. Because I heard I think my friend Fifi at the Sunyani thing talking about 1993 to 2000 in terms of polytechnics, NDC 7, MPP 0. That was factually incorrect. It doesn't reflect the facts. 7 polytechnics between 1993 to 2000, that's not true factually in terms of the time frame. Some of those polytechnics were set up under the PNDC period.
That's right.
So you see, when you are doing propaganda, you have to be careful how you present the things. And then subsequently, there were also radio interviews. I heard the Minister Nana Oyelita also trying to talk about the leap and talking about a certain survey or research that indicated that by 2008 the leap was a failure, but they have been able to increase. Again, leap started 2008 March, so you can't do a comparative analysis in the sense that she was doing it. Again, that was propaganda. And when they are doing these things, maybe for their foot soldiers, they can assimilate those things and think,
Oyelita is not known to do pure politics.
But I heard her on radio after the event doing this kind of comparative thing. In any case, Lee was condemned by them as vote catching thing. But to make an intellectual analysis to the effect that 2008 it was almost a failure, and that by now we have increased it to 200,000 is completely baseless. Intellectually, statistically, there was no basis for the comparison she was doing. But she did it, knowing that only few people may see. I was going to say the fraud in the analysis, but I won't say that. Now let's come to the issues. And you've indicated we are unable to do a comprehensive thing. But I've been going through things. Last week it came up. This thing about election of MMDCs.
That's right.
Yes, if you go to page 72, and we raise this issue here, they are talking about, can I read it? It
Yes,
says,
go ahead.
Implement the Constitution Review Commission's recommendation to have MMDCs elected. You remember I raised the issue that there's a distinction between this and the implementation of the government white paper.
That's right.
And we thought perhaps if we got the benefit of this, the scrutiny of this manifesto, they may have elaborated, because the recommendation of the Constitutional Review Committee is distinct from the government one. I think I read the government white paper adoption. What government decided to do was to do a selection of some 5 people. Yeah, they varied it. So precision-wise, what has been put here is not proper. I mean, unless they have,
to the extent that for the MMDC, it's like if you wanted to elect the person for there, what was going to happen is that the government, the president, will bring up 4 people, and then you choose out of the people the president has presented.
That's right.
What's the difference in that?
Yes,
that doesn't make an election.
Yes. But what they have put here is imprecise relative to what the white paper said. And so the idea that we're told that the president actually was talking about a white paper.
So this defeats their white paper problem.
Yes, unless they are,
no, it doesn't.
No, it does in substance. In substance, what is here? What is in the
implement the Constitution Review Commission's recommendations to have MMDCs elected.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in the white paper, you varied it.
Yes. And that's so in terms of precision, that's not what is here. They can do an amendment to that to reflect the white
highlights what the president presented. He said, as stated in the government white paper.
We were challenged here last week relative to this issue, and because we didn't get a playback of that aspect. No, but if that's what the president said, then what the president said is not what is in the
manifesto.
Yes,
you're right about that.
They should look at it and set up. Then again, of course, we're also handicapped relative to the issue of the 5 new regions. I realize that there isn't any elaboration. It's just as blank as it was last week. Set up a commission of inquiry to look into the creation of new regions with the intention to increase the number of regions to 15. Well, we might as well wait, because we don't know which regions will be affected by that exercise. That is when we can deal with the issues properly, and so again I have a little handicap there. We'll wait a while and see, and then there's this thing about the 123 thing that I get irritated anytime I hear that. Fortunately, Sami says he has the list here, so if indeed he has the list here, I would be so grateful if he provided me with a copy as well as this station, so that our reporters will move to the field. And I hope it's just not a list, a list that comes with their status, the state of completion, and when they will be in it, so that we can move and go and do our own verification, field verification.
But before then, if you allow me,
sure, why not?
Thank you. Page 73. I don't know if this will help. The last but 2 bullet, page 73, just above enhancing public sector reform, you see implement the modified procedure for the emergence of MMDCs as contained in the government white paper on the Constitution Review Commission report. So this clarifies
page 73.
Page 73. Just above enhancing public sector reform, down there, page 73.
When you say it clarifies, how do you reconcile that with?
So you see, implement the modified procedure for the emergence of MMDCs as contained in the government white paper on the Constitution Review Commission report.
Well, no, for the for the emergence of MMDCs, I think that is not specific to the election of MMDCs.
No, that is it. What does the white paper say? The white paper says president will nominate 5. They go to Public Service Commission for vetting. It's reduced to 3, and then the 3 are voted for.
I think you have a drafting difficulty.
So why don't they say that specific and say emergence of MMDCs? Because the Constitution Review Commission has a whole portion
Yes, that talks
on the
about going to
question
Parliament,
of
which the
on the
white paper
question
rejected.
of the devolution process itself.
Yes.
Yes, see, this is what they said here. It says government does not accept the recommendation
Actually, I'm
that
looking at
Parliament
it.
should be empowered to determine specific mechanisms for choosing metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives.
Right.
Government does not accept the recommendation that in the metropolises, metropolitan chief executive should be popularly elected.
Yeah.
Government is of the view that in decentralizing in a unitary state, a delicate balance ought to be struck between the central control and local autonomy. Consequently, government is of the view that Article 2431 of the Constitution should be amended for the President to nominate a minimum of 5 persons who will be vetted by the Public Services Commission for competence, after which 3 nominees will contest in a public election.
Yes.
First point, the procedures.
Yes.
What are they?
So that's it. Implement.
We haven't even moved to the level of Parliament doing any amendment, have we?
No. We rejected that. So we are using the white paper, the government white paper.
And that's the modified procedure.
Yes, the modified procedure as contained in the government white paper. So implement the modified procedure for the emergence of MMDC as contained in the government white paper.
Why do you say for the emergence? Why not for the election? I don't get
That's
it.
why I think there's a difference, because
it may be a choice of words issue.
No.
Elegant drafting.
Yeah.
You can
So
choose the two.
Yeah.
And then
No.
make sense
No.
of it.
Yeah. Because that is what is contained in the white paper.
in the white paper, which is chapter 9, begins with first issue, conceptual basis of decentralization and local government.
Yeah.
Government accepts the recommendation of the Commission that Article 240 of the Constitution be amended to identify the type of decentralization envisaged at the 3 levels of decentralization in Ghana, namely deconcentration at the level of the Regional Coordinating Council, devolution at the level of the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assembly, and C, delegation at the level of the sub-district. I think that is where what you are talking about speaks of the emergence of the MMDCs. So I think that does not speak to the election. The election proper is what Kokubako referred to.
I was a member of the committee, and I know what we put here and what we mean. So please take it from us. That's what we mean. But I consider that we could have been clearer.
I agree, because you are talking to all of us. This is communication to all of us.
Because you have put in the manifesto that you will implement the Commission's recommendations on the election. Then it means the white paper will be put aside.
That's the impression.
No, but in the manifesto here, as I've showed you, page 73, we make reference to the white paper now. We make reference.
Okay, thank you. Kweku, proceed.
Yes, so, well, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I said I think this is a certain challenge. They may have to do something about it, you know. Now, there's also a claim about, that's on page 19. And maybe I'm going to be a bit controversial here. You're talking about having, you said, you see the heading, our achievements.
Yeah.
We have achieved the following in the health sector. And then you make, when it comes to the subtitle, institutional hospitals, you make the point of construction of 130-bed maritime hospital in Tema.
Yeah.
That's why I said there's a little controversy. Is it a government hospital? Is this the government-led hospital? Or it is the GPHA that is using its internally generated funds to set up this hospital, to construct it? I mean, the extension.
It is
being fair to the facts.
But the GPHA is a state institution.
No. So then it should have been put. But you see, then we're making claims. We're claiming we have achieved certain things.
Yes.
We've put it in our manifesto, and we leave it in this manner. It is as if it's a government-led construction. But the truth of the matter is that if you go for the details, this particular facility is being built with internally generated funds.
By the
and may not have been undertaken in pursuance to an NDC manifesto.
That's exactly the
or
point.
government program.
That's exactly the point, and it's a fact.
It is part of
No, you
government
see,
program.
no,
You know
you
that
see-
inter-generated funds, you need financial approval from the finance minister
but that's
to
not the
use
issue.
it.
But that's
Yeah,
not
to
the
use
issue.
it.
No,
If
no,
so,
no.
if government doesn't agree
No, but government cannot take credit.
with what you are going to use, the
I agree with that. That's a question of regulations,
Yes,
procedure.
point is
Yeah,
that the
government
people see-
cannot
yeah.
take credit for
Right.
constructing it.
GPHA is a
But if that's what
government
we-
institution.
no, but if that's what we're going to do, then we might as well just put this thing out there. Let all government agencies go out, do what they want to do, and say that it's government a manifesto pledge. That's not
But the distinction you are making not difficult. A difficult.
No,
Very
it is.
difficult.
There's-
State organizations.
Anyway,
it
he
is-
said he will be
it is-
controversial. So.
There's a certain streak of dishonesty,
Oh no, not at all.
or if you like, an overkill of appropriation.
Oh.
You mean propaganda?
No, I think you are being unfair to us. No, I mean,
I'm not being unfair. Look, I am telling you that they state it well.
so you,
Government has encouraged
So you
some
want an
institutions of state to become financially independent so that they can move into construction of certain things. Precision, accuracy, fairness. But this an attempt to politically appropriate the initiatives of some state organizations. It's difficult for me to take. It's because of the political capitalization. You are seeking a electoral
I find
capital.
it's difficult to understand.
Because you are on that side, you find it difficult to understand.
Who appoints
It doesn't matter.
Who gives the approval for this
It
project?
still doesn't matter. No,
It is within government policy.
but this is not a government-sponsored program.
It's not a private sector
You see,
initiative.
if it wasn't in the manifesto, I would not be arguing this way.
If it were in a government document.
Yeah, I would not be
Or
arguing.
the green book. The green
No,
book
the
is
green
not
book,
supposed to
no.
belong to the party.
No,
It's supposed
no,
to
no,
be
no.
a government
Please,
document.
the Green Book is a propaganda platform. We all know that. Come on, we are above that. I'm not naive.
We were at the same argument when So Far So Good was published.
They made those
Either it was a political document or it was a
They
government
even
document.
put coat of arms.
Yes, you said it was a political document rather
You
than
said
a
so.
state document.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No, so please, that's it.
I think we
Then
could
I'll-
be a bit uncharitable.
Let's hear.
Well, I said I'll be controversial, so perhaps you must take that. No, but as you said, we can't go too deep into this.
Right.
You know. Then of course the NHIS, the tapping of oil, tying it to the oil thing. I found it there, but again, it's not detailed. But I think that's to be expected because they need to come up with some, more
Extra funding
to
sustain
I'm
it.
sure the parliament
Question of
or other-
sustainability
yes,
has been
all
on the
those things.
table for
So,
a while.
so far, it's too early to make a serious judgment or critique of this document. But I think they should be precise and a bit fair in how they present their details.
Okay. We'll take a. Should I finish with you? Okay, you should be done. Then we take a break and then come to deal with the last part of it.
I have
I've seen you opening something. I don't know if you are opening a Omega.
Yes.
Okay. It's a case he's opening. Let him read it.
No, just
say
a
something
moment.
that says Kwekuma's point
Just a
is correct
moment.
about
You see,
appropriation.
I didn't contest the Legon one for good reasons.
Okay.
I see an extension.
Okay.
I've checked the Hansard, everything. I realized that the Legon one, there was a loan that went in the name of government and approved by Parliament. That's an extension between that and the utilization of the internally generated funds by GPHA for this one. So there's a line of difference.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Well, I was just looking at the case that settled the matter that is being contested by both Kwaku
And this was directly about the GPHA.
From Attorney General, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority.
Interesting.
And in fact, in respect of this loan, an aspect went to the High Court, and the High Court also, applying this case, said that loans taken by or transactions engaged in by Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority is not a government loan, and therefore
I see.
there was no need for parliamentary approval. Yes, it's here, Supreme Court. Strictly speaking, I do not fully share.
In fact, the GMPC faced a similar situation recently, and the court also said they
I
could
do
go
not
ahead.
share the opinion
Yeah.
of the court, but that is the Supreme Court decision.
Okay.
Because, for example, when you take GMPC, when GNPC is going for a loan, they say we will pay. If you don't pay, use the oil which belongs to the people of Ghana. I actually share the view expressed by Mr. Okujeto. Recently, the electricity company...
Which view is contrary to what the court says, which is what Kokubako is advocating.
I would say it's a variation.
Okay.
But recently, electricity company, with this concession or privatization, however it is called, the matter is in court. Again, the lawyers for the ECG raised this same issue. The ECG is a private institution established under the laws of Ghana, the Companies Act, with shareholders. Of course, as it turned out, the shareholder happens to be the Minister of Finance. The issue is whether he can even alienate it or use it as part of his estate in case he dies, maybe in future.
He can't.
Now, he can't. So, and again, the High Court, the Human Rights, said that, well, he disagreed that an institution like ECG is a private institution to the extent that they can engage in transactions without the government having anything to do with it. And as far as the court is concerned, that is a public institution. Of course, that is a High Court decision. But there are emerging matters coming up. But just to conclude that the argument has been settled by the Supreme Court that when GPA chief, for example, engages in such act, it is not related to government, which is the exercise of executive power, and therefore they can go ahead and engage in such transactions. Right. I think the same thing may also be said about the court complex, which I have seen is one of the achievements that have been indicated. The scanty information I have is there is an arrangement between SNIT and the court or the judiciary, for which the judiciary will have to pay for, one, the land, and also the expenses incurred. But even more important,
that explains the new charges which are high and people are
people don't know that the judiciary is paying for itself. So, well, we know that again,
using the urinary is 50 pesos, right?
Yes, you can imagine.
Okay.
I noticed that
now you know that. Another confusion is sometimes you don't get to know whose achievement we are talking about. That's why I've always made the point that it stems from the confusion as to whether there is NDC government, there has ever been NPP government. You see, because I hold the view that we talk about human beings who become presidents. So, like the court complex, it was President Mills who cut the sword. So, it was something that was commended by President Mills. But when you read the, not the Green Book, the Manifesto, it says, we have achieved the following. And it will include, for example, the passage of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act in 2011. So we would like to know whose achievement, because I would have wanted to know President Mahama's exclusive achievement, so that, because he is the one that is going to be the president, he is the one that our resources are going to be vested in for management. I care very little about a political party's programs. Of course, the Constitution says that political parties may fashion out and enhance government policies. But I'm more concerned about the track record of the person I'm going to vote for, in whom legally my resources will be vested, and not a political party who merely, under the Constitution, sponsors a person to become president. So I think that you may want to synchronize or categorize for us. Okay, President Mills did this, or the following. Under the Constitution, governments are to continue with the projects that are commenced by others. But if you fuse the two, it becomes difficult for us to really, because, look, the president has, said something that I find to be very profound. That was in 2011, when the debate about the use of the Heritage Fund and the Stabilization Fund came about. And there's something he said which I will just refer you to. When he said that we live in a country where the woman, this is what he said, we live in a country where women are dying because the road from their villages to a healthy facility is not done. And you say that the oil wealth God has blessed us with should be left for generations to come, while that woman dies today because she can't go to the hospital. Of course, the famous balloning followed, but for our purpose, I would add. It's the same quotation. So this is what defines the president. And so I would like to compare him to what extent he has implemented this particular profound belief of his or principle. That's why it is important. But one thing I would like maybe him to consider is the use of the Heritage Fund. I think so far it's been counterproductive, and also it doesn't meet the prudence that a reasonable manager of funds will apply. Why should, just to conclude, what
You
should
made
we...
notes on the manifesto. You don't seem to have referred to any of that yet.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm just summarizing.
Okay.
Because these are also in the manifesto.
All right.
There is an issue about management of the oil fund.
Right.
The court complex has been mentioned. Also forestry. And then that is even at the heart of all this. So when you look at the management of the Heritage Fund, for example, I can see why we should invest it in a foreign bond. We go to that market and we are giving a loan for 9% when we are lucky. And then the last time, that was in 2012, 2013, the highest interest we got was even just about 1%. The same market. So why can't we rather amend the legal framework, invest it even in Ghana? If it is in dollar terms. If you give a contractor even 4% on it, instead of even the 12 and the 15 they take from the banks, it is still going to help us in this country. Because the best thing, as reflected in what the president said, for me at this stage, is to establish infrastructure. That is why he may also have to reconcile this statement that establishment of infrastructure in a way demonstrates engagement in mediocrity. I think that it is contrary. If he said it, then it's contrary to this, which I think it is quite profound and worth emulating. When you take forestry, I mean, it is, you may have heard over time, especially in recent times, the extent to which illegal mining is destroying the forestry and the forest reserves that we have, especially in the western region. I think there's no justification for it, and the laws must be enhanced. We already have sufficient legal framework and institutional framework. It is obvious they are just not being enforced. And I think that if we will highlight that particular, because there's no need, as has been highlighted in the manifesto, going to buy acacia trees, doing afforestation at high cost, only for people, and sometimes they show you grant of mineral rights and water rights, giving them to enter forest reserves and just to destroy them. Between the benefits of the gold and the environment that will be destroyed because of the destruction of these forests, which we have invested money to plant, I think that we should rather reconsider the benefit that we will derive from the maintenance of this forestry and then forest reserves. And also, we should consider amending Section 17 of the Minerals and Mining Act. I mean, an act that grants somebody the opportunity to impound underground water, divert, just to extract minerals or enhance the extraction of minerals. I think that it is not proper. And so that is very important. Then the last aspect is also about education. I think we should again look at the funding of persons who want to become teachers. Because if you only highlight infrastructure, you only highlight even giving millions of books to students, but there is no attraction by the extended to the teachers, and not at the time we are teaching.
Oh, there is provision for them.
There is
for the teachers.
So I'm talking about those who want to go to the teacher training schools in the first place.
There is page 17, the teacher first agenda. Provide accommodation for teachers who accept postings to deprived rural schools. Reintroduce incremental credit for science, mathematics, technical, vocational teachers. Continue to issue financial clearance to employ more graduate teachers as and when appropriate.
So what about the teacher training?
Support teachers in science, mathematics, and
teacher training allowances.
They say they will get loans.
As of that, we've replaced them with the student loans.
Right.
Well, anyway, so but the point is, let us make what the teachers deserve also a priority, because over time, I think we are putting too much priority on the pupils, which is important. But equally also, we should look at what will even attract people to even go into teaching. And it need not be people who have had formal teaching. The people teachers that we all benefited, some of us were trained by people teachers who had virtually not had the benefit. Again, why should we not also insist on an institution that is just for teacher training at the tertiary level? I mean, years ago, you can't go through UCC some kind of training in education as a course. Yeah. Now it has almost been overtaken. Maybe I think there's a department for it. Okay. So let's enhance that. And I think that at the end of the day, it is the record of the president. Unfortunately, we may not have a lot of record by others. That is why we have to measure. What
you have been saying you were concluding. Don't join the politicians. Conclude. Thank you very much.
Because we know lawyers and our conclusion is also almost
Thank you very much. Right. Thank you very much. Okay, we take a break here. We'll be right back, and we'll deal with setting the record straight briefly, if we should be able to make a little time to that, and then we'll deal with the dirty diesel.